Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rise and Grind in the Morning with 72 the Architect, aka Jason P. How we doing? We're going to talk about how to be understood and to how to understand. And stay tuned in just a second. Well, good morning, everybody. It's Monday. What is it? August 15th. Wow. Half the month has already passed by. And we're started here Monday morning thinking about a lot of different things, getting the day started. You're either getting your kids up ready for school, or you're getting yourself up and ready, or you've been up for a while and getting yourself started for the day for work. But many of the things that I've noticed lately is the level of conversations that we have. A lot of the conversations we have sometimes just only have a small percentage of what people have taken away. That means our colleagues, our friends, our family. Only a small percentage does anyone reflect on anything that has been passed in conversation. Now, I thought about this exactly issue because I wanted to know why some people just keep in the same style of vibration, keep in the same style of talking to certain people, or why they don't get anything done, why they feel depressed. There were so many different things that I really wanted to get to the bottom of this, and why and how people can become better speakers and get things done overall. So I was writing these notes on my iPad just the other day, and here, let me adjust my mic. There we go. So when I was looking at, conversations what I had with a colleague of mine, we were talking about how do we begin to be understood, you know, and what do we do? What are we doing? Are we saying the wrong things? Are we talking to the wrong people? Are we in the wrong place? And we're in an environment, like I even noticed it myself. I wanted to get a certain point of success with my speaking as well as my blogging, my podcasting, so on and so forth. And I noticed that I started chasing a style of competition in conversations, being more mature or sometimes not mature, being older and sometimes being younger. It really depends on you. So when I looked at, going back and looking at some of the organizations that I've been a part of and some of the leadership, and they conduct themselves in the same way, same pattern, nothing forward, nothing really gaining. And I was thinking about a couple individuals who where they were speaking, or I was speaking, and then they come in and they just kind of trash what I was saying. They didn't hear anything I had to say. The only thing they heard was what was in their thoughts, in their mind, to offer, to make corrections, or to add advice, or maybe advice wasn't necessarily needed. And as I started noticing that, I felt disrespected, and I was like, did that person really get what I was saying? Were they understanding what I was doing? And so as I looked back at the level of conversation, started looking at the person, and I stayed silent, as they interrupted. And this happens a lot. I notice this happens in a lot of different social spaces, from dinner parties to social gatherings, even engagements with family. And the list goes on, and people will hear something. They'll listen to you for probably about 30 seconds, maybe to a minute on average, and they'll take the first segment, and automatically they will go and offer their 2 cents. And I was like, aha, this is like one of those light bulb moments, ding, and I was like, they're not really listening to me. They're listening to prescribe to me. Because if you're interrupting somebody, no matter what, it's disrespectful, no matter even if you know the subject or not. And that's what we're going to talk more about today: how to be understood, to understand, and everyone has something to offer. Maybe not everything that's offered is equitable at the moment, but could be at a time. And it could be something that you've already learned or gone through, but they're in that process. So, looking at my notes and going over this subject exactly here, let me take my headphones off. Um, that's another thing. Oh, sorry about that. But anyhow, um, so looking at my notes, where do we start with this? And the first thing is, in my level of conversations, I want to first seek to understand what's being passed. There's information, there's contributions, there's intelligence, there's thoughtfulness, there's all kinds of things, right? So, in order to be understood, you got to seek to understand, then to be understood, right? Now, the question of the room, the title of the show is How to Be Understood to Understand. You reverse it. So, whenever you're coming in a conversation, you're speaking, you're leading in an environment, you're leading maybe in work, whatever, what have you, you're doing a couple of things. You're serving a purpose. No communication doesn't have just purpose. And if it doesn't, if you're an idle gossip, if you're around people that they're just there to talk, who's really listening? Do your words really count? So that's, one. So the first part, how to do this, suspend your judgment. Very key. When you suspend your judgment, you know, you're giving space to the other person. So when the person you're talking to is speaking, consider their thoughts, understanding, and or the question, why they bring the matter up. Do you understand their point, or you know, are or your points are more important? Just remember, do you understand the point or their point? Um, and then we often tend to jump too quickly when we're trying to understand. People will say things like, well, I don't have time. I could save you all the trouble. I know about this. I understand about this. But that begins a bigger problem. So people receive value, I think, in how this first part in suspending judgment, people receive value in completion. That means when they complete their thoughts, when they're finished, and then it begins the teeter-totter of the conversation. If you're, having a conversation or a speech, a speaker, he completes, and sometimes they'll do Q&As and other times they won't. People pay to go see speakers and not be able to ever respond to the speaker. So, you know, but the critical point is don't interrupt. And that's the hardest part, especially when people are long-winded. So there comes to the point where if you want to be understood, you've got to understand the points you're making, not the story, right? Understand the points that you're clearly making. Understand exactly what you need to communicate. If someone has something they want to know from you, or they're not sure about what you're saying, or if they're accurately listening, they'll ask questions when you complete. So instead of giving story after story after story after story and trying to mean something, make quick points. That's the first most important part. Then, so while you're suspending your judgment before you engage, absorb the information. The level of listening is really going to help you. If you're listening just to engage, you should not be in this conversation. You're not being an asset to them. You're not being an asset to yourself. I don't even see a point of even trying to go forward. But see, not always can we do that. Sometimes we're in a position where we need to listen to somebody, and we're in employment and an employer or a manager is talking to you. Are you in your own thoughts? Are you in your own head? Are you in your own eyes, your vision, where you should be, or what's going to happen after you get off work? How disrespect, you know? And when I look at this, I'm like, okay, I'm disrespecting the speaker. I'm not really giving the speaker their place. I'm not giving their space in their attention, no matter whether I have a good duty, a bad duty, a strong duty. Um, so when I'm listening to someone who's in charge of my matters, so to speak, when I start looking at this, I am here with the collaboration and cooperation. So that's the next big part of this. Understand your collaboration for your cooperation. And that can go into personal conversations, that can lead into more thoughtful conversations that will help you become a better person. And just remember that. So if there's confusion, if there is confusion, save the point in your mind to when they're stopped. Interesting, you said a few things. I have a question. This is allowing you to take patience with what's being said, regardless of the emotions, regardless of whatever's done. We're always in a hurry, but we don't savor the moment to really get something done. People say, well, they're just that. People are saying, most people. Well, I don't know most people. I know many people. So I'm very careful with my words. So that leads on to the next point. Reflect and not deflect. Reflect your experience, their experience. It's important. So our experience is important to us, but so is theirs. And I think that's very, very important. And one of the things that I've got to give a quote from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, Law 1. This is really going to sound probably maybe mean, or I don't know, maybe not so comfortable. But when those you always make those you feel comfortable superior in your desire to please or impress, then do not go so far by displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite. Inspire and the insecure, make your masters appear more brilliant than you are, and you will attain the heights of power. Now, some people might feel that's argumentative, but what it's really trying to say when you're having a leveled conversation, it's not saying the other person's a master. It's really saying, I give you respect under the qualifications of this conversation, whether it's leisure or important. I'm giving you time to really think, reflect, act, and do, you know? And believe it or not, some lessons are worth repeating. That's right. Some lessons are worth repeating. Some conversations are worth repeating. And when we actually consider that those lessons, those conversations, though they may be repetitive, it gives you a time to craft your experience a little better. And so here comes the next point. There's contribution, there's timing, and there's takeaways. Every conversation has all of those three. When do you speak up? Should you speak up? And I don't really like using should, but it tends to be a qualifying matter. Applying yourself, being a friend. Like in counseling, I can definitely say that there were things and times where I feel specifically where just listening did me more good than harm. Not responding, not giving my input. I've had personal conversations that led into business where the person actually thought, oh, he understands me. And at the end of the conversation, I said, thank you for your time. That's it. I appreciate it. Now, it kind of raised a little suspicion in this one conversation, I'm thinking, but I wanted them to say, I understand where you're at, and let them ask me a question. If they want my opinion, they'll ask for it. But a lot of times we're so eager to offer our opinions. And this is where I think that what we really need to be looking at is the strategy we're using for ourselves to retain ourselves, to sustain ourselves in our personal sovereignty. And it's a very, very important word, sovereignty, because your sovereign self, your autonomous self, your what you think, how you feel, all these things matter in the long run to you. They will not matter always to everybody else. They will matter to some, but they don't always necessarily qualify. You are going to have to be the one to really say, well, what's important here is that there is a conversation. Second thing about this conversation, I understand my comprehension. Third, are they asking me something to do something, or they just want to convey a thought? Sometimes people are in that process where they're trying to discover the answers themselves, but unless they've asked for it, how we imply where we contribute, that's the big key. Hey, you know what, Jason? I have a question. Sure. Do you have a few minutes? Ask their permission. There, it doesn't hurt to ask anyone's permission exactly on whatever you want to solve, because it may be something they're qualified on or not qualified on. So I think that's very, very important. It's a very big takeaway. And I've seen it plenty of times where I felt I was disrespected because I didn't feel that who I was talking to really understood me. But did I understand what I was saying? That's the big part. Are you clear in your thoughts? Are you confused? Are you emotional? Um, just as an example, um, me and my girl and my daughter and her son went to the beach yesterday, and we went to Santa Cruz. And let me tell you, I had one of the best days possible. I had a very extremely stressful day previous or not evening. And the reason why I had stress was I got an email from my other daughter's mom about a situation that really upset me, and really under normal circumstances I would have been there automatically. Like, yeah, this is an emergency. My daughter went to the hospital, but because we're going through a legal dispute right now and stuff, I'm prevented from talking to her right now. So it left me as a father in a dilemma, and it hurt. So I took the information, I stored it aside, and I said, okay, if I give myself the space I need to digest and absorb what is being said, am I looking to be offended? Am I offended? Or can I take this information and process through? So, and I didn't tell her about this until the end of the day. And we talked about it. And she goes, "Oh, I, I see what you're going through." And under normal circumstances, I would express my emotions behind it. This is my partner. This is someone I love. Well, my child is also someone I love. So the point is that even though I had certain other requirements to perform while I was driving the car and while we're talking to get us home safely, not to ruin the day, because sometimes I've just gotten emotional, got upset, and it would sink my day and sink me. But in that conversation, she gave me enough space and understanding and just said, you know what? I got you. Enough was said. And she asked me, how do I feel? And I said, um, confused, confused, and hurt a little bit, but I wanted today to be the best day possible. I wanted to go to the beach with my girl and Vale, and we had fun. And we went to was it Salsa by the Bay or Salsa by the Sea in Santa Cruz? On Sundays they have, during the summer months, they have dancing on part of the boardwalk, and it was a lot of fun. And me and my girl, we got to dance and got to have fun, and just forgot about my problems for a little bit. And so when that took place, I freed up so that I could have a better resolve today. So I wasn't going to come into Monday all upset or disturbed or weighed down. And I think that's where a lot of us are. We're weighed down with a lot of things. But if we can accurately decide in our conversations, then our understanding is the most important part, but to be understood is the next part. What we get to communicate, why we're communicating, going backwards. So absorbing all this information took a lot. And by taking the time and having a little bit more patience gave me enough time to have patience for myself. And the actions, the process, the things that I produced well, you know what? Made a difference on me. I didn't need to worry about what anyone else had to say. I didn't have to worry about what my girl thought, what kind of fight I was going to have to deal with, you know, talking to my attorney. Those things are going to be resolved. And by slowly approaching, I'm not letting myself get out of hand. So I understood my conversation was very, very important because my partner feels that, hey, she doesn't want to see me go through what I'm going through. It didn't come by accident. There are a lot of accusations, but the opportunity, that's the key. How to be understood and how to understand or to be understood by how to understand is your level of comprehension and the level of patience. You persist, you perform, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Because if you act impulsively, you could be ruining your next situation. And that's the thing. Today I got up. Today I start school, start some classes that I've been waiting for. This education that I'm going to be going after is something I've been wanting to do for 5 years, maybe more. Yeah, 5 years it's been. And the requirements and restraints of what I've had to work with and navigate through has allowed me. And by having this time, I understand where I've got to operate. So how can I start really navigating in better spaces to better things, better people, so on and so forth? And I hate to say better people because it's the truth. Eliminating certain things, eliminating certain conversations, allowing myself to be sometimes completely alone in quiet. Meditation is a very, very important thing. It is very important. And when you understand that, self-reflection is a part of that. And when I self-reflect, sometimes I come up with the answers right away. And sometimes it takes maybe a few days, honestly. So in this style of philosophy to be understood, taking the patience and the timing, the willingness, and just saying, you know what? I don't have to this is not a life or death situation. I may lose opportunities, but if I understand what I'm dealing with and how I'm going to perform, then guess what? More than likely, it's going to work out in my favor in the long run. Sometimes we miss out on opportunities. There's financial opportunities that I've totally missed out on. Yeah, I will say that I have missed out on. But on the flip side of things, if I had gone that route, I would have missed certain valuable things, and one of them I will definitely have to say is my partner. By taking time in certain ways and certain things, I learned about a relationship that I can't think about a better partner. I really can't. My girl Adriana, she means a lot to me. So much to me where I'm willing to listen. And I give up, I let go of my stubborn will. Doesn't mean I'm giving up of who I am. I have my personal views, my position. That doesn't mean that I'm walked over and just no, but I'm just saying my my person, my woman, my lady, the one I'm with, I consider her counsel. And when we talk, sometimes I'm just listening, not responding. And there are times where it's very difficult to listen. It may be the hard truth that you don't want to face, you don't want to deal with. But if you look at what you're absorbing, now you look at your contribution. Okay, my conversation is this. I can accurately help you or not help, but maybe I can find help, or maybe there's no help needed. You just have to go through the process. I think a lot of our problems is that we being understood is that we're not giving ourselves the space and the time. That's why I said timing is very, very important. Your allowance. Sometimes you have to work on other things for the right things to come into place, like putting a puzzle together, putting a puzzle like those 500-piece sets, 1,000-piece, or even 5,000. I think the reason why people like puzzles because it's a physical thing where they know they have to take the time. It's not like a kid, like where you just want to put all the easier puzzles, like 24-piece, and like, oh, boom, 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 it's done. No, the value of the lesson of the puzzle, the jigsaw puzzle, so to speak, it teaches me patience. And what it does for teaching me patience is allowing me to be myself before others. Because otherwise, I'm always chasing other people's attention. I'm always trying to be good enough. Is there an amount of money that I'm going to be happy with? But at the end of it all, the level of me being happy, me being understood, me being fulfilled really comes at one thing. Do I understand myself? Do I allow myself to give and receive? Or do I always, and there, I've had that dialogue. I've always feel like I'm just the giver. That's all I'm doing. I'm give, 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 give. And it doesn't feel too good. But there's also a point in where you're taking, right? You're taking. And when you understand what you're taking, what you're receiving, you know, then it's like there's for a reason. When I take my pay from my clients, whoever I work for, this is compensation. This is the exchange. This is the reward. I've done something. I've completed something. So, what do we do out of all this? Here's where I'm going to come to a close. Look at every day on something that you have to complete today. Not 6 months from now, not 3 months, not your yearly goals, not your life goals, because a lot of times those things need clear vision that you may not have really spaced for. And I mean spaced, like you given the space for this. This is the long term. A lot of us go at education and we get professions, we get certifications, we get licenses. And when we do this, it's to serve so that I can serve more. So, and that's the thing. I'm of service. I get rewarded of being of service, and I'm okay with that. I don't have to start a business. I don't have to be a major speaker to understand that. Give yourself time. Give yourself time. Give yourself maturity. And when you do this, you'll be a lot happier, a lot better off. And that's pretty much it. Know the difference. Make time. Making time, that means the segment sequence of events to process things better. And that's what you can do. That's what I could prescribe. I don't need to be a life coach. I don't need to be a strategist. I don't need to be a therapist to tell you that. Those people that do those professions are there to assist you. Keyword, they're there to assist you in finding that resolve. And that is the sum of today. To be understood is that you have a resolve. Reason. Anyhow, that's all the time that I have for Rise and Grind today. On Wednesday, I am going to be talking about adult children of addicts and alcoholics. And I think that a lot of us really need to hear this, especially those who've accomplished a lot, but somehow we have some social disorders that we can fix. So make sure that you tune in on Wednesday. I'll be talking about adult children of alcoholics and addicts, or vice versa, addicts and or alcoholics. They call it ACOA. This article that I really got from one of my therapists. Um, she wanted me to look at it, and just to give you guys a preview, she wanted me to look at this article and review and how much I resonate with this. So when I look at what I'm resonating with, exactly, I can start process and healing certain parts of my life. And the article was published by Janet G. Wowitz. That's Woititz. And adult children of alcoholics is what she got the quote, but it can really apply to anyone, um, addicts or even abusive people. So stay tuned on Wednesday. I hope to be on at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That would be 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have to go earlier, like I said. Well, I hope you guys all have a fulfilling day. Till the next time, we'll see you on Rise and Grind.